Hello everybody, Helcrex here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from Inner Seer, episode, 339. Today we're going to be talking about the Pinto Attack VTOL. Variable, yes. Alright, so the Pinto is a 10-15 moving 30-ton VTOL, put out by a ComGuard slash, Word of Blake, depends on what era that you're talking about. The Pinto is pretty decent. Gets the job done fairly well. Like I said, it's 30 ton. It's a 10-15. The interesting thing about being a 10-15, you got plenty of movement to get to the 10 threshold for your movement, to get that 4 for your base movement, plus the V, being that it's a VTOL. You're going to hopefully spend a lot of time in the 5 movement modifier department, so you don't have to worry too much about becoming the primary target. And if you're hovering around there at the medium to longer ranges, the mods are pretty high that you may not become the primary target for anybody trying to knock you down. So there's that. Now, when we get into the weapons here, if they do get close enough to be able to use some of these weapons, then, well, you're probably moving into that one area where the shorter ranges might be something they're going to look at and go, well, I'll just take a shot at it and just see if I can take it down. And typically that's what happens a lot of times, is that you get the more aggressive player that want to be moving one of these VTOLs into close range so they can get the damage, and because they want instant gratification. They want to blow something up, and then next thing you know, they get swatted out of the sky. And that's pretty much what happens with a VTOL. It doesn't take much. All it takes is a couple hits on the rotor and it's done. You know, the wonderful thing is about a VTOL and the rotor, if you hit it, you know, there's you divide the damage by 20, so, or 10, I can't remember. Until I actually start playing on a regular basis in the game, it's like, yeah, no, then I remember. It's like at the top of my head, I think but it does take a bit of damage output to do any damage on the rotors. But, you know, it's the third point that really starts doing something really bad. And all you got, it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot. If you hit somebody with a LBX cannon, you get a couple hits, or 3 hits, or 4 hits with just 1-point shots, it's done. It goes down. You destroyed the rotor. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a heavy hitting weapon system. It just has to be plinky weapon systems. So you hit somebody with an SRM-6, and a bunch of them hit the rotor, it goes down. It doesn't matter. It's just like one blink, 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 and it's done. It just takes 4 of those. So that's the nice thing. So, yeah. The other thing is, if you don't hit the rotors and you do hit them with a 10 or 20-point shot, typically most of the VTOLs are going to go down anyway because they don't carry a lot of armor. All right? So that is a major problem. So, if you got something like this, don't get it right up in its face, and don't get too aggressive. All right, now, the Pinto does have some weapon systems on board. Like I said, it has some armor, which isn't too bad. Let's see, we got 4 tons of ferrofibrous armor, which gives you 71 points, which is enough to put 20 on the front. Like I said, it can handle some hits. It's one of those VTOLs that's heavily armored. So you don't have to worry too much. You know, you could take a few hits here or there. But if it gets past that 20 threshold, yeah, you're going to know it. And you might be just getting facepalm killed, not even ever hitting the rotors. Because a lot of times, it's just like the same as... well, it does have its own special chart, but a lot of times I find that most of the VTOLs I ever kill are just taking out the front. you never really take out the rotors. It's always taking out the armor and the internal structure on the front slope. So that's how usually I see most VTOLs getting wiped out. All right, so weapon systems on board. Kind of interesting. We have 3 medium lasers. Obviously, this has a fusion engine, so it does come with 10 free heat sinks. So what the heck, you throw some medium lasers on board, you're good to go. Or you could just put a large laser if you got the tonnage. That will work. Give yourself, because then you're using that free heat sinks. Then this is on the front. You have an LRM-5 on the front with Artemis fire control and a ton of ammo. All right. And then we have a Beagle probe, which, that's a 1.5 tons. I don't necessarily think that the Beagle probe is really, it's useful. But a lot of times I find the Beagle probe is, how you say, mission specific. If you have something where you gotta find a hidden target or something like that, then the Beagle probe's handy. But overall, I think I'd rather have a ECM suite on board to help, mitigate like the Artemis, or heck, if you had an ECM and you see somebody with a C3 system, you get a network up, you could fly this thing really quick into the backfield and shut their network down. And you got that movement mod. You're probably going to, if you're flying pretty hard, you would have that 5 mod, and it'd be hard for them to even hit you. So there's that. Then now the interesting thing is, I also look at this as a infantry deployment vehicle, because it carries 1 ton of cargo space for infantry. So yeah, you can deploy a light straight leg infantry squad on board. And if you're running these in conjunction with, say, a lance of them, you could basically deploy a platoon of infantry pretty quickly. That's the nice thing about it. So that's how I kind of look at the Pinto. Overall, not a bad little system for the ComGuard to have. It's fast moving. You could be deploying special forces type units, guerrilla style tactics pretty quickly onto targets. Deploying spotter teams, weapons teams, like, just fly in, drop them, and then go fly off, and then you can fly around above them, giving them a little support with your LRM for up to 24 turns. Kind of how I like this thing to be used. Don't get it stuck in. Now maybe later in the game. So like I was saying, being stuck in later in the game, then you can start using those medium lasers again behind targets or into flanks of targets that have stuff that's open. Then you start punching holes in, or hitting places that already have holes punched in, and you're doing crits and everything. That's the wonderful thing. Now there is a other version of this little Pinto. It's the Pinto Attack from the Word of Blake. All right, so Word of Blake, geez, on Terra they have all these wonderful things called XL engines and everything. So they just start putting them on everything. So you got the Pinto with an XL engine, which gives it more tonnage available. So when you got more tonnage available, they changed the weapon loadout a little bit. One of the primary thing is that they put on upped it from 1 ton to 6 ton capacity, so they can throw battle armor squad on board. And yes, you turned it into a fast delivery system for battle armor. Yeah, what's not to like about that? Or you can carry some infantry squads and stuff like that. Really load it up and just drop them like little seeds. Johnny Appleseed. You just put a whole bunch of stuff out there and create havoc. Then it downgraded one of the medium lasers, so now it has 2 extended medium lasers. All right, with on board, so you got a little bit more range with it, up to 12 versus the 9, but you got one less weapon, because obviously with the ERs you're going to be pumping out more heat. So unless you want to throw a bunch of heat sinks on, which degrades how much you can carry, why do that? So I can see why they dropped one of them in favor of now you have a MML 5 launcher with 2 tons of ammo on board for SRM and LRMs, and it still has the Artemis fire control system on board. So, and that comes in around 700 battle value. Now the primary version is 710, so it's not really losing much, mostly because you drop the 1 medium laser, and the battle value goes down a little bit. So there's that. That's not bad. So that's the interesting thing about it. So now you got an MML, which gives you some options of 2 different loadouts for when it comes to missiles, which is very versatile. That's one thing about the MML that's really nice. You can turn it into a pretty heavy SRM delivery system, or you can just have it as a long-range missile system, extending your range out just a bit. So there's that. And for the Word of Blake, it's kind of a nice thing. Now the one thing it doesn't mention anywhere, I don't think it says it still has the Beagle probe on board. So I think it upped the armor up to, I think, a 90. Let me look here. Yeah, mine says it had 90 armor on board. So that's 5 tons. Has 5 tons of armor, ferrofibrous armor. So yeah, it's kind of a nice little addition. You can handle a few more hits to the front. I think it's 32 versus 30, I think it was, or 20. So yeah, you get the capability of turning this into kind of almost a flying tank. You have 20-ton mechs or 25-ton mechs that wish it had this much armor on board, and this thing is a VTOL. So yeah, kind of nice. All right, so I could see, like I said, the second version loaded up with some infantry, fly it in and dump them. Now, if you don't want to increase the armor and keep it around what it was before, I would consider maybe going with the ECM. Just keep Artemis off you, or the what do you call it? Knocking down any C3 system, because by the time the Jihad rolls around, you're going to see a lot of C3 systems everywhere, because it's going to become more commonplace. And a lot of the games that we played in, say, Gen Con and Origin, one side, when we were facing off against the Word of Blake, or we were the Word of Blake, depending on which side of the table we were, there's a lot of C3 systems out there. And that's how they kind of mitigated the WOB's ability to dish out a lot of damage pretty quickly. So there's that. All right, so that's the Pinto. Not a bad little VTOL. If you haven't ever played one, think about it. Maybe put a proxy in, throw it on the table, and see how you like it. Just remember, you don't necessarily have to try to do all your damage at once by getting into someone's face right off the bat. You can sit back and hover back there and just be a nuisance, or be a delivery system. Be a battle taxi for a while. So there's that. Okay, hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcrex out.